Good evening, everyone. My name is Coach Staci, and you've joined my meetup group. Thank you for joining tonight. Looking forward to speaking with everyone. So tonight's topic is talking about how are we talking to ourselves and what can we do to put our minds in the direction for success. So let's think about this. So what are some things that cause us to stop or prevents us from thinking successfully? We get this myriad of thoughts that can come to our minds, and a lot of times we'll have events from the past or situations that tend to replay themselves in our minds, and they'll replay themselves over and over again. And there's this thing called rumination. And when we ruminate, that means we're thinking over and over again about things that have happened to us, situations that occurred, things that went wrong, things that went right. We tend to think about things that maybe caused us pain in the past, issues, arguments, disagreements, times where people mistreated us. We tend to play these over and over in our minds. And when we do that, we call that rumination. Now, what happens when we do this over and over is it can cause us many problems. And some of those problems include depression, anxiety, because it causes fear, and all these things sit inside our heads, and it's really not good for us. So I wanted to talk about and give you some techniques on how we can possibly stop doing this. Once we realize that we are doing this, how can we talk to ourselves better and not allow these things to replay in our minds? And what can we do about it? So here's some things that we can do. Number one, we can replace it with an alternative. So what happens is when we sit and we dwell on things, or we continue to think about past events, what I call it is we're kind of sitting on our pity party. We're saying, oh, poor me, this X, Y, and Z kept happening, or this person, XYZ person, was mean to me over and over again. Oh, XYZ person, they are not giving me proper respect. And we're saying these things over and over. And that's rumination. And that's what we need to try and prevent. If there was a situation, and when we're doing this, we're really taking the easy way out. We are making things very easy on ourselves. But here's the problem with that. You hear that word easy, right? It's easy to sit and think about problems from the past. It's easy to just keep saying, oh, well, this person doesn't like me, or, oh, I fought with this person over and over. So, I can't go forward. I can't have any other friends. I can't do X. I can't do anything better. My parents never liked me. Oh, woe is me, woe is me, over and over and over again. You tell everybody, oh, this person didn't like me. Oh, this thing happened, right? We're playing these we can't keep playing these negative thoughts and events over and over. We can't keep telling people, this, that, and the other thing. It causes a decrease in self-confidence and self-esteem, which other people can also see in us. And that's not really going to allow us to put our minds in the right direction so that we can succeed, right? And we want to succeed and be happy. But when we do these things to ourselves, we're really causing ourselves distress, and we're putting ourselves into a lot of anxiety and depression. So what we have to remember is there was that word I kept saying over and over, and that was the word easy. What we need to remember about life is not about easy. Life is not about us taking the easy way out. We don't succeed if we take the easy way out. We succeed when we challenge ourselves, when we learn, when we do things to make ourselves better. That is how we're going to get to success. We need to reframe how we're thinking about things and remember that easy doesn't equal better. Easy doesn't equal success. Success is not easy. Okay. So when we're sitting and we're thinking, oh, woe is me. Oh, well, I have this problem. Oh, well, I can't get along with this X, Y, and Z person. Oh, well, this keeps happening over and over. You are ruminating and you're taking the easy way out. So what's the solution, Coach Staci? Tell us. The solution is to replace those thoughts with more productive ones. And to also remember, okay, this didn't work out. Let me learn. Let me figure out how I can do better next time, and I'll do that. Now, here are my suggestions. Number one, for any event, trauma, argument, whatever may have happened, or whatever thoughts are replaying in your mind, give yourself 10 minutes. Well, let me say 10 minutes to think about it. That, and set a timer. You know, if you have a cell phone, most cell phones have timers. Give yourself a timer. You can think about it for 10 minutes. And then I want you to write it down in a book. And you can give yourself another 10 minutes to do that. And then that's it. And now for the last 10 minutes, I want you to write down in that same book what you learned from it and what you're going to do better going forward. So 30 minutes for one event, and then you should never talk about it again. You can write down what happened, what bothers you, and 10 minutes what you're going to do better next time, or what you've learned from it. And then that's it. Clear it out. Don't talk about it to anybody. So that's, and notice that I said write it down, not type it. There are studies that when you write things, it connects more with your brain, and it's like you're verbally expressing it more than you get more out of it than if you just type it. Okay. But if you have to type it, fine. But my recommendation is to try and write it. Okay. It's kind of like if you were talking to a therapist or something, you're expressing yourself. Okay. You're getting it out. And then I don't want you to think about it again. I want you to just write it down, leave it there. That's it. Done. Okay. Now, something else about writing things down. And I was thinking about this just before I was going to give this little talk. And that is years ago, as some teachers, and particularly I think what happened in possibly like Catholic schools or something, but to discipline students, they would make you write things down over and over again on the board. You know, whether it's a blackboard, whiteboard, whatever. It's probably a chalkboard at the time, but and why? Because once you write it so many times, you're not going to forget it. Now, notice I said to just write down whatever trauma event. I want you to write it down once, and that's it, because I don't want you to keep remembering it. But here's what I want you to write down for yourself over and over. And I don't want you to forget this. And here's what I think it should say. I want you to write down, I will stop thinking about past trauma and events. And I want you to write it down as many times as you need to in order to make sure it's cemented in your mind so that you don't do it over and over again is my recommendation. You can write it down 10 times, 20 times, whatever is going to help you to make sure that you're steering your mind in the right direction. And sometimes we just need to say to ourselves, just stop. When if that thought that we wrote down and we're done with, we had our 30 minutes with it and that's it. If it keeps coming to you, we might need to just say, stop. And then we might need to write it down again to express it, get it out. We don't want it to come into our line of thinking anymore. We want to replace those negative thoughts with positive ones. We want to get those old thoughts out, old experiences out, so we can bring in new experiences to us. Does that make sense? We want to allow the good in because there's a lot of good out there and we need to be ready for those experiences. We can't keep harping on those past experiences because those past experiences are then stopping us. They're preventing us. They're in the way. They're the roadblocker that's preventing us from bringing in those new positive experiences so that we can do more with ourselves. And many people fall victim to these things, including myself. We kind of will let these things fester in our minds and it'll go over and over again. And we need to find ways to let them out and let the new experiences in. We need to be creative and with what we have to do to make these things happen. Now, one other thing that I like to talk about, and for those of you who've heard me speak before, you know that I'm a former middle school teacher, and particularly what I would teach is mathematics, and that's my favorite. Now, to give you an example, so something that I think we don't know, not everyone learns from math. And just a reminder that math is really a lesson in logical thinking. If you think about it that way, math is really teaching you logic, right? So we need to be able to make sure our behaviors are following a logical pattern, okay? So now something I like to teach my students is that you have to be a risk taker. You have to try, you have to fail, and then you have to learn from the mistake and then try again. So for example, the reason I love math is I could sit there and work out the problems according to the way that I thought it should work. And then I would, work with a teacher or go to somebody or follow in classroom and be like, wait, what did I do wrong here? Why didn't I get this right? What was I missing? How did I not think about this? And then get my thinking corrected, because that's why I would like students to always, that's why they say show your work, because you're basically showing your thinking. So you want to compare the way you should think to the way that you did think and make that correction. So like what I'm talking about here tonight is kind of making a correction to our thinking, and we need to find ways to do that. Okay, so we can lay out how we should be thinking, which is that we shouldn't be replaying the past, and then how we should be thinking instead, which is allowing the positive in. So I feel like a lot of times kids will get frustrated with math. Oh, I don't understand this. Oh, da, 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 da. But it's really an exercise in, training our minds to do certain things. And again, we don't get better until we challenge ourselves. So if you're letting yourself off easy by just replaying things instead of thinking about ways to correct the thinking or ways to correct the problem, and go, have things go better next time, then we're trapped. We're like being suppressed, and we're going to end up in depression and anxiety because we're like letting this weight sit on top of us instead of moving forward, which we're entitled to do. We need to move forward. We need more training, more experience. Okay, I wasn't good in this experience, so I need more of it, right? We need more practice. That's what I try to tell my students too. It's like, but you have to keep practicing. We don't just get it on the first try. We don't just get it when somebody explains it to us. We have to think it through. We have to practice. We have to practice multiple times. We have to do it over and over and over again. And that's how we improve and grow as people. Excuse me, and grow as people. And if others don't allow us to do that, then we want to find people who will allow us to do that. Does that make sense? So I hope this helped you, and I wish you all the best, and I look forward to seeing you at the next event.